Welcome, everybody. I'm Kenny Chapman, the Blue Collar Coach. Thank you so much for joining us today and taking a look at this interview. I've got a really special interview set up for you today. Today, I have Kelly Schols with me, the president and primary owner of CPI Plumbing in Mount Vernon, Washington. You might not have heard of Mount Vernon, and that's okay. Before I started working with Kelly, I hadn't heard of Mount Vernon either, but he informed me it's about an hour north of Seattle, and I've been on site multiple times with him. We do a lot of work together. He's in our mastermind group, and yet probably the most exciting thing for you is the fact that he's hosting the Blue Collar Success Group's live look inside the strategy event coming up on September 29th and 30th. We're going to spend 2 days looking at Kelly's company, pulling back behind the covers, what really makes this very successful business work, and you're going to have a firsthand look at that, access to his people, access to his technicians, access to what he's doing to really grow this business. Then on day two, we're going to get down and dirty. We're going to roll up our sleeves as a group, and we're going to do some planning and strategy to help you model and create the things that you see that really work here. So you get some coaching with us, you get some time with Kelly and his team, but today I just wanted to give you a little bit of a background as to what makes Kelly work. How did he build CPI into this market-dominating machine in a relatively small market? He does more in revenue than many of our clients in much bigger markets. So I'm interested in how that happened. So please join me in welcoming Kelly Schols. Welcome, Kelly, to the interview here, buddy.
Thank you, Kenny.
Awesome. Well, so let's just kind of dive in, Kelly. So let's talk a little bit about, we all have kind of this path that gets us into the business, and I know that most of our clients and contractors are somewhat interested in, how did Kelly Schols end up as a plumber?
Well, I started in the business when I was 16. I was working on a dairy farm, really didn't like it. And my girlfriend's dad at the time owned a plumbing company, so he asked me to come to work for him. So at 16 years old, I came to work and started sweeping floors and dumping trash cans and putting material away in the warehouse.
Wow. And so we won't ask Kelly how many years ago that was that he was 16 starting sweeping floors in the warehouse. But then, so much like a lot of us and a lot of you watching today, we all have different paths. I kind of personally got into this industry on accident in a way too. I mean, I certainly bought a small drain cleaning company. That's how I started, but I didn't know what I was doing. I had no business being in business, and generally we kind of start there. But so you come into this company working for your girlfriend's dad at 16. Very few people end up making that a lifelong career path. So how do you go from a broom in hand at 16 to ultimately the president of this organization many years later?
Well, actually, this is a different company than the one I started with.
Okay.
There was a partner in that company, and his name was Steve Olson. He sold out of there a few years later and bought into what is now CPI Plumbing and Heating. A few years after that, he talked me into coming to work for him at CPI. So in 1990, I came to work for him at CPI. And by 2001, he retired, and I bought him out of CPI.
Okay. So you had a little leadership in him, perhaps, that you were kind of following. Like if he bought into this company and then you decided to follow him over. How did that happen? Why was this a guy that you knew you wanted to work with or follow to another organization?
Well, it was actually he wanted me to follow him. After he left the previous company, I moved to Southern California and was living down there. He started calling me about 6 months after I moved down there and called me every month for 2.5 years, trying to get me to come back to Washington to help him run his company. When I finally came back and saw what was happening and what he was doing with the company, I got excited, and he gave me an opportunity to buy into the company if I would come back to work for him. So in January of 1990, I packed everything up and moved back to Washington.
So you're living in Southern California, enjoying the sun down there, out of the drizzle of the Pacific Northwest, but you saw something and you wanted to change your life a little bit at that time anyway, and so you took this as an opportunity and said, I'm going to go back and I'm going to jump into this thing and see what we can build, huh?
Yeah, I was, down there. I was just partying a lot. I was just working to get by. I had no direction, no focus, and knew I wanted to clean myself up and find a direction and focus. So came back to work for him, and a few years later, ended up buying him out, and I won't tell you how many years now, but total. Um, Now I'm the owner and president of the company.
Okay, so and one of the things I want our viewers to really get is, I'm sure just through this interview you can feel Kelly's energy. He's a very easygoing guy. He's very driven though, and he's very clear about his goals and what he wants to accomplish. And so, like for me, as I've known Kelly 3 or 4 years now, and it's almost hard for me to put my arms around the fact that he was working to get by, that he didn't have a clear direction, that he wasn't exactly, he didn't have his life totally lined out exactly how this thing's going to play out, because since that time, he's created that type of a life where he knows what he's doing, when he's doing, how he's going to do it, why he's doing it, how he can continue to create more wealth and abundance in his life, both professionally and personally, in the face of challenges and hardships that many people face throughout the journey. So those of you listening, don't ever get caught up. Every time I'm doing expert interviews, I want to make sure that you don't go, well, that Kenny and Kelly might be able to do that, but that's not me. Yes, it is you, and it can be you. You just might not have a path. That's one of the reasons that we created this event called Live Look, where you're going to be able to see, talk to Kelly, see his organization, and see what he's built. So if you think about kind of a turn, obviously that's a major, I call them defining moments. Some people talk about turning points. I mean, that was a clear line in the sand type of a decision for you, right? For you to pick up everything, move back, and ultimately buy into this plumbing company. Would you say that's one of the major turning points in your career?
That was one of them, yes. When I came back to Washington from California, I had $300 in my pocket. I owed $500 on a '72 Chevelle, and I had the clothes on my back. It's not that way anymore. Yeah, that was one of the major turning points. Another one came in 2001 when I bought Steve out and he retired. Here's my mentor that had been my mentor since I was 16 years old, who was stepping away, basically giving me selling me the company and say, here you go, kid, have at it. Well, in 2001, I don't know how many of you remember what happened, but that's right about the time September 11th happened. So the economy was on a downturn, and nobody knew what was going to happen. And here I am buying a multi-million-dollar plumbing company, going, oh my God, what do I do?
Right, sure. Well, and like you said, a big point of that is you've got all this external challenge, plus you're losing a mentor and somebody that you've had to be able to bounce off yourself. So when did you, I know you belong to the Service Roundtable. We're advocates of the Service Roundtable. We encourage all of our clients to be a part of Service Roundtable, as well as work with us in our mastermind groups and all the coaching and the training and using our video membership. All those things are very synergistic. And obviously, with you bringing in myself and other coaches into your organization, you're education focused now, but when did you really start realizing, man, there must be a better way, or I've got to do something different? Because you were 100% new construction when that downturn took place as well, weren't you?
Yeah, in 2001, well, we weren't 100%, but we were about 95% new construction. And at that time, when the downturn did take place, I turned to the only other person I really knew to turn to, and that was my brother. He's been very successful in the automobile industry. And I asked him, what I needed to do. And he said, the first thing you need to do is you need to educate yourself. He goes, you need to buy self-improvement, motivational tapes, anything you can get your hands on, and educate yourself to become the type of person and leader you want to be. So I did. I bought Brian Tracy's Universal Laws of Success and Achievement. And I listened to that for about a year and a half to 2 years every day in my truck, and it helped tremendously. And from then until the next big downturn, we did really well. I mean, things were cruising along good. We were starting to get into service a little bit more, but we were still mainly new construction. We were making good money. I had a beautiful wife, 2 kids, vacation property, built a brand new house. A lot of things were going really well. And then 2008 happened. And that's when the next economy hit. And
I love your story. You talk about how you and your partners are sitting around, because another thing I want our viewers to realize, Kelly does have two other minority partners in this organization. So, there's an old adage, they say the fastest ship to sink is a partnership. And so that's true in a lot of cases, but that's not been true of CPI. And so, as you tell it better than I do, but you guys are sitting around and, one of your partner's spouses worked in the banking industry, and you guys are looking at what's taking place. And share with our viewers kind of how that transition happened, or how you even saw some handwriting on the wall that many people didn't see.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, one thing, like, you talk about partnership. To me, power in numbers, and you're only as good as the people around you. And I've always believed in that. So as far as having partners, I look at it as a blessing. You got more people with more ideas, better input, and a lot more strategy and different things going on. So we'd always met, once a month, just kind of get together, talk about different things. And a lot of new construction going on. We were doing a lot of developments at the time, and we were seeing the prices of homes. I mean, it was ridiculous what was happening with them. And we were talking about it, and Brad's wife, working in the baking industry, would come home and tell him about people making $10 an hour buying $300,000-$400,000 homes. And we're just going, wow, you got to be kidding me. And then 40-year, 50-year, interest-only loans, and we're going, wow, this is not going to last. And we had already joined Service Roundtable, and I was starting to read some of the posts, like in Florida, where condos were just hitting the ground, just falling off, and we're looking at this going, guys, we need to make a change, and we need to make a change quick. And like I say, we were a part of Service Roundtable. We were not Service Nation Alliance yet. So we made a conscious choice that we were going to put all efforts on deck and transform our company into a service-based company. Went to the Service Roundtable meeting in Vegas conference where I met you, and joined Service Nation Alliance. And things from there just progressed forward and has kind of taken us to where we are now.
Well, and I love that perspective, and I think many of our viewers really need to hear what Kelly said about partnerships, and part of it is obviously communicating and how you communicate with each other, and clear, defined roles and expectations and things like that. But there can be some of the most powerful companies that I work with personally have multiple partners at the helm, and there's always a clear leader. You ask any of Kelly's partners, there's no question who the president is and who makes the final call, but he has very, very bright people around him as well, and he's done that intentionally. So I want us to be mindful of that. The other part here is, obviously, he's into education. He's members of different organizations. He's been in our mastermind group for well over a year now, and invest in the training and the education. And so as you guys have kind of built this thing from making the transition from new construction into service, you got clear about education, you got clear about kind of who you wanted to be and how you wanted to position yourselves in the market. What do you think is such a unique advantage? I know I'm in so many businesses, and yours is one of the best out there. How did you turn that and say, we're going to be people focused, client focused, profitability focused, and like pull all this stuff together? Was there anything that kind of stands out of how you guys have been able to accomplish what you have?
Well, when the economy was starting to crash in 2008, 2009, we had another incident that happened, is we dropped out of the union. And a year after dropping out of the union, I get a pension liability notice in the mail that we owe $548,000. So not only is the economy the worst it's ever been in our lifetime, but now we get a pension liability notice that we owe $500,000. So we had to do a lot of soul searching. We had to figure out what we were going to do, how we were going to do it, how we were going to move forward. So we had a planning and strategy meeting where we sat down for 2 days with no interruptions, sat down and figured out what we were going to do, how we were going to do it. And part of it was, you know, educating ourselves, becoming better leaders, joining Service Nation Alliance, a lot of more self-development for myself. Bought your books. You know, when I saw you speak on stage and we talked the first time, I knew that I wanted to be a part of what you were doing. So I bought your books, I've bought your tapes, I've listened to all of them, I've used them all. It's helped me become a better person, a better leader, and I've felt that's what I really want to do with my company. Is I want to empower all my employees to be better people. So that's what we've done. So we came up with a plan and strategy to do that, and we ended up paying the union off in 2012, June of 2012.
So think about this, ladies and gentlemen. How about you're handed a $550,000 bill and you got 4 years to satisfy that day? I don't know what your current level of profitability is out there or how you're running your organizations, but that's enough to put most people under. And I would actually advocate, and maybe Kelly wouldn't agree with me on this, but I'm going to say that whole mess and that having that big note that came at him right in the downturn of the economy might have been one of the best things that could have happened long term. Is that crazy to say?
I totally agree with you, Kenny. People have asked me, you know, what would you do if the union came knocking on your door again? And I've told them I'd invite them in, I'd sit them down, I'd congratulate them, I'd thank them, and then I'd kindly ask them to leave. And they said, well, why would you thank them? I said, I'd thank them because they made us a better company. They made us who we are today. They made us look at ourselves internally and sit down and decide who we wanted to be and how we wanted to move forward.
Well, and that's something that I want everybody to be clear about too. You know, we're always going to have challenges in company. We're in a people-driven business where labor and material is half of what we charge out in most cases. So the reality is that you're going to have challenges, but it's you know, as everybody's heard, it's how you deal with those. But you know, I know Kelly well enough now to know that he is so driven with personal development, believes so much that things happen for a reason. And you know, I remember way back when, years ago, I bought into a diaper delivery service that ended up going under on me, or I had to sell it really quick. In 18 months, I lost 70 grand. And I remember my uncle telling me, I think that's the best thing that could have happened to you, you know. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's not your 70 grand. So here I am saying the 550 that Kelly had to pay back was good. Easy for Kenny to say that, but Kelly's speaking from the heart when he says, you know, I don't think he would go back and change that because of the company that they've become in the face of adversity. So those of you out there, if you're facing a challenge, if you're having a tough time of something, reach out for help, get self-educated, take control, make a decision to do something different. You know how many people have had issues like that where they just sit back and go, it's because of the union, it's because of this, it's because of all the reasons out there, instead of taking ownership like companies like CPI do. The other thing I want you to realize is, as Kelly said, he got focused on personal development. He's invested in all of our products and all of our coaching, as well as other things, but only the things that he can use to drive his business. And I remember years ago when I was being personally trained by Michael Gerber, the great author of The E-Myth. If you haven't read that book, by the way, there's my plug. I always talk about it. You've got to read The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. Now, enough of a commercial there. But when I was being personally trained by Michael Gerber, he would hold up a mirror and he'd say, show me a small business owner and give me a mirror and I'll show you what the company looks like. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, when you look at CPI Plumbing as an organization, I see Kelly Schols, and that's a powerful thing. And I think all of us actually have those things that happen, but what about your consciousness or your intention of the kind of organization that you want to create? So Kelly's been very effective in this role. We definitely, we want to see you on September 29th and 30th. Come and take a look. We've got some great events planned around it. We're going to have a great dinner on Monday night together. Tuesday night, I'm actually doing a community keynote that everybody that comes to the event is invited to, where there's tickets. They're charging admission to get in, but you'll be able to come and participate in our keynote and spend some time together. But more importantly, this is, CPI will get better because all of us are coming in and digging through their sock drawer and helping them, get better. But these events are about you to come and not go, wow, look at what CPI has done. It's more of an opportunity for you to go, wow, I wonder what I could do with my company. If Kelly's able to do this in the market, a little bit over 100,000 people, then what could you do in your market? What can you learn from Kelly and the Blue Collar team while we're on site there September 29th and 30th? So I want to thank you, Kelly, for your time today and sharing some of the information with our viewers and our tribe here. And we're looking forward to coming out in September 29th. If you want to register, just go to the bluecollarsuccessgroup.com, click on our events page. You can find it through Facebook as well. We've got a great hotel block and we've got a great rate on this. So don't waste your time. Get registered today. And we look forward to seeing you in Mount Vernon, Washington at CPI Plumbing, September 29th and 30th. Until we talk again, have a better and fantastic day, and we'll see you next time.